Shiver me timbers, the person you would never suspect, not in a million years, has been arrested and is being called a cocaine kingpin. The unlikely suspect is a North Florida family man who decided to become a modern-day pirate. His loot? More than $2 million worth of cocaine that's rumored to have been buried on a remote Caribbean island. On this week's episode of Two Crime Newsies, we go on a bizarre treasure hunt and meet some Jolly Rogers who talk about their powdery plunder. That was a fun open.
Absolutely.
We are talking this week about The Legend of Cocaine Island on Netflix. It was released in 2019. And due to the content, obviously the whole powdery plunder, we're talking about cocaine, it has a mature audience rating.
Yeah.
Pretty accurate right there.
Yeah.
The show was such a fun show to watch. I was texting Tina throughout just going, Tina, who are these people? Because Tina was the one who recommended this show.
Oh, hi, I'm Tina.
Yeah, I'm Jen, by the way, if you don't recognize us from the last couple episodes.
If you're new here.
So the show opens with this shaggy-looking surfer dude who kind of appears down on his luck a little bit. I think he's sitting in a tattoo shop. Is that right?
It looks like, that's what I assumed it was too.
Okay.
That's what it looked like, yeah.
And he says a line that I think just basically describes this entire show. He says, if you knew where $2 million was buried in the ground, would you dig that S-H? I can say shit?
Yeah.
Okay. But not the other way?
Yeah, you'd be like, F yeah.
Okay. Okay, so he says, if you knew where $2 million was buried in the ground, would you dig that shit up? F yeah. I would, and I did it one time. Boom.
I love the way this opens. Netflix calls this a comedic documentary, and it looks and it sounds like a movie.
It does.
And it doesn't feel like a documentary. And I love the camera angles that they use. I also love the music.
Oh, yeah.
The captions in the beginning say the music that they're using is contemporary wild Western music.
Oh, that's a good way of describing it.
Perfect way of describing it, I thought.
The location for this show is Archer, Florida, which Tina says is outside of Gainesville. Mm-hmm. And Gainesville is where Florida
Gators?
That's like a school.
I mean, sure, there's
it's
probably
like Florida
actual
State,
Florida
right?
Gators there, but yes, to the Florida Gators team. Husband's going to be so proud that I know that.
You know that. Good job.
Actually, I hope I'm right.
Well, there's a school in Florida that's the Gators, and they're like colors, I want to say is like blue and orange.
That's
right?
them, Florida Gators.
Okay, okay. Hey, go me for knowing that.
Go us.
Yeah, high five, my friend.
Yeah.
So we're introduced on this show, The Legend of Cocaine Island on Netflix, to a man named Julian, who's described as a local hippie. You have him walking barefoot everywhere. He grows his own food. He's kind of living off the land. And we're told everyone has a story. But Julian had a very good story. We're told on the show that a northern story starts out with once upon a time, where a southern story starts with y'all ain't gonna believe this shit.
So true. That's what you said, and I agree with that. Russell is Julian's neighbor, and he's the one telling us the story right now. And we also get a disclaimer on the screen that says, we can't confirm many details of this story, which is pretty much what happens with any legendary story, wouldn't you say?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I
100%.
mean, is it true? Is it false? Is it half true?
Yeah.
You don't know.
That's what makes a good story.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to start with the legend. Julian's story starts out in Culebra, Puerto Rico. 15 to 20 years ago is what the show says. Mm-hmm. We're told by Julian's neighbor, that's Russell, that Julian's wife was working at a turtle research facility in Puerto Rico. And one day, Julian is just kind of walking the beach, enjoying some sun, and he found a duffel bag in the water. So obviously, he goes and retrieves it from the water because I want to know what's in that bag too. You know, I feel like if you go to the beach and you see something floating there, like, you're obviously going to be like, what's in there? It might be $1 million.
We're such different people.
You wouldn't check it out?
Not touching nothing. Yeah, I mean, I don't like to touch anything at the beach. It is dirty.
Oh, I would definitely go. I would wait out there. I would go get that duffel bag and I would open it up right away. So Julian does what I would do. He opens up that bag and guess what is inside? Cocaine. And what does he do? Naturally, he buries it.
Naturally.
Yeah.
What do you mean? If you found cocaine washed up on the beach, you would bury it.
Probably. Does that surprise you?
I wouldn't. No. It really doesn't surprise me, but I wouldn't bury it. I'd leave it and I'm running. I'm minding my business. I'm not touching it. I'm not getting involved. I'm not about to pee off the person whose cocaine that belongs to. It's obviously there for someone to find it. And what if it's a trap?
Well, what if it's not though? And you're sitting on this bundle of cash. I feel like you
More
and I...
than likely, it's not good.
I feel like you and I have very different moral standards. I really do.
That's a good way of putting it.
So Julian's neighbor, Russell, says that there was about 70 plus pounds of cocaine in that duffel bag. And that's worth more than $1 million, Tina.
Here is where we're talking about when we said, this is a legend, half-truths may be told here. This is where the details get fuzzy, because what do you mean it was 70 pounds? Russell says that Julian weighed it, which means he had to have picked it up,
Well, yeah.
taken it to get weighed, because he doesn't walk around with a scale probably, right, to weigh things.
No, probably not. But I mean, I would, I think naturally you'd be like, oh, I think it's cocaine. Let's go weigh it.
Okay, now I want you to think about this. How do you casually walk around on sand lugging 70 pounds of cocaine?
If you think you have a bundle of cash, I mean, basically that white powder turns into a bundle of cash. You make it happen.
I don't even like to drag an ice chest through the sand. I can't imagine lugging a 70-pound duffel bag in the sand.
You make it happen, Tina.
No, I'm not making that happen. I'm leaving it.
Well, Julian apparently couldn't figure out where to bury this. And his neighbor Russell says that he would bury it one night, go back the next day, dig it back up, and move it again. Because I feel like that dilemma is a real thing then.
They say on the show, they describe it as a dog with a bone. Your dog has a bone or a toy, and then they go hide it someplace, and then they're like, nope, it's not good enough. I got to go hide it somewhere else.
Yeah, that would basically be it.
And here we go again. So he picks up the bag, and now he's trying to figure out where to get rid of it. Sir, why didn't you just leave it there?
And let somebody else pick it up?
Yeah, I get that maybe he was trying to save the turtles, right? Okay, you don't want the turtles to ingest
You
some
go
cocaine.
with the turtles?
His wife is there helping turtles. Maybe he's just trying to get the cocaine out of the water so turtles don't ingest it. I get that. So he could have moved it and called an anonymous tip-in on where authorities could find it and just not messed with it.
Tina, your mind and my mind work so differently.
Again, I agree. So Julian finally picks a spot and he buries it. And Russell says that it stays buried in that spot 10 or 15 years.
All right. Well, before we get too much into this, I want to talk about the lingo. So we're talking about keys.
Not the Florida keys.
And not house keys. We are talking about keys means kilograms of cocaine. Okay, and at this point, we're talking about 32 keys of cocaine, which that's a lot. That's a lot. We're talking about bricks, and we're not talking about those house building bricks. We're talking about bricks are bundles of cocaine, how it's packaged. And then I was curious about this. So I went on the I was curious about this because, we've all heard, cocaine is referred to as, obviously cocaine, white powder, whatever. But I figured there's probably some other good lingo. So I looked online on the DEA's website because I figured if I don't know anything about this, which truthfully I don't, the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency of the United States, probably knows some pretty good lingo.
The DEA came through.
The DEA came through. So according to the DEA.gov, there's some cocaine slang. Are you ready for this, Tina?
I'm ready.
All right. So cocaine, also known as booger sugar. Tina. It's also known as devil's dandruff. It's called, I like this next one. It's called frisky powder.
Frisky powder.
Apparently it makes you frisky.
Sounds like a cat food.
It's known as whiz bang.
Oh, that might be my favorite.
Whiz bang?
Whiz bang.
See, I like frisky powder.
No, whiz bang.
Well-
Whiz bang.
Whiz bang. Well, it's also got like a plethora of other names. I had no idea.
No.
So
I've never heard of whiz bang, but I should probably not say that, right? If it's a slang.
I
Probably shouldn't use that in conversation.
No,
Okay.
no.
Dang it, I like it.
You go home to your husband. Hey, I was talking about whiz bang today.
Excuse me?
Knowing your husband, I think he would like the word frisky powder a lot better.
He would definitely like frisky powder.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the players in this story. And I'm going to refer to these people as a band of scuttlebutts.
Love it.
Okay, so we have somebody named Rodney Hayden. He is the president of a general contracting company. And the show says he's a dreamer, all right? Before the recession in the 2000s, he was making a whole lot of money. He had all the toys. He had cars, he had boats, he had motorcycles. And then he lost everything in the recession. He lost the family's house, and they had to move into a double-wide trailer out in the country on a 40-acre farm, and he, according to the show, had over $1 million in debt that he owed to the bank.
That's a lot.
Whew.
And at this point in the documentary, we're probably around, 8 minutes in, and brace yourself because I have a lot to say.
Yeah, she does.
So we, at this point, hear from Rodney's wife, Jamie. And she is able to stay home, take care of the kids.
Before they lost the money.
Before they lost the money, because Rodney is doing so well. They lived in a prestigious neighborhood. And like you mentioned, they had all the toys. The new cars, the boat, motorcycle. But Jamie, to me, raises a red flag here.
The wife?
Yes. Did you not? Okay. She says, we appreciated the things that Rodney worked hard to get for us. But it's not enough. I see your face. You didn't hear that?
I must have heard it, but I probably just glanced over that.
Mm-hmm. I thought, uh-oh.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of the culture of America, though, in a lot of ways. Like, you always want more.
What do you mean you don't have enough? You live in a beautiful home in an upscale neighborhood. You have all the toys. You get to do what you want to do. You get to stay home and raise your children. You're healthy. Your family is healthy. What more can someone possibly want? Well, Jamie tells us they decided they needed a swimming pool. And then they needed a river house.
I need a river house.
I put needed in all caps, but I don't think a river home is a need. I think it's a want. And I said need because I need in all caps because these are the words that Jamie uses.
Yeah.
And by the way, she's smirking while she's saying all of this, which just rubs me the wrong way.
You got a thing out for Jamie here.
Okay, it comes off a bit greedy. She goes on to say that they then needed a boat, and they needed jet skis, and then a motorcycle, and then we see a shot of a moving van driving out of the swanky neighborhood where they were living.
That was a nice looking neighborhood.
It sure was. And driving out to Jen, a very peaceful looking property where they bought land. And Jamie says she loved her old life. But it sounds like a nightmare to me, if I'm honest. $1 million in debt to the bank? No, thank you.
That's scary.
Right.
That's scary.
And Jamie also isn't a very sympathetic character. She's in tears at one point in her interview saying that the 2-year plan of living in the double wide on the property turned into 8 years. And she once lived in a 3,600 square foot home with a 3-car garage. And now she's living in a home the size of her 3-car garage. Oof. It sounds so cringy.
It does, you know, now that you're like saying this to me, it does kind of sound cringy.
And I'm rolling my eyes thinking, ma'am, you're not out in the streets.
That's true.
You're living in a normal sized home on a 40-acre farm in Piney Woods, for crying out loud.
That's also in the Archer, Gainesville area.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The images that we see of this land.
The video on the screen is super nice of this property.
They have bonfires, Jen, on weekends out there with the neighbors. That sounds like a blast to me.
It does too.
I would take that over $1 million owed to the bank any day.
I'll pop some, what is it, moonshine or the Pappy Van
Yes, please. And I'm sorry, but I just don't feel bad for Jamie living the life out there. And this is how all of these people know each other. Jamie and Russell and Julian, they all lived out there, and they all hung out at these bonfires, and they swapped stories, which is how we learn of Legend of Cocaine Island.
Ah, nice little backstory there, Tina.
Yep.
All right, so next we meet Andy, who is by far my favorite person on this entire show.
100% agree.
He is the shaggy-haired surfer-looking guy I talked about at the beginning, and in the show, he's interviewed inside of what Tina and I think is a tattoo shop, and he's wearing these like baggy dress pants, a really baggy white button-down shirt that's not tucked in. He's wearing a straw cowboy hat and sunglasses that are about 3 sizes too big for his face. And he just looks like a good time.
Definitely. And I said, that's my kind of outfit. It looks so comfortable. It's much like what I'm wearing right now.
I was going to say, Tina's sitting here in like a white oversized
shirt, oversized pants. I mean, I'm not wearing the giant sunglasses, but I love them. Andy has style, and I dig it.
I like it. Rodney says Andy was a friend of his son's, and he always had good pot. Which I'm just like, all right, okay.
All right.
And turns out he also had an opioid problem, the show says. Whoa. So Andy, again, has one of the best lines in the show. So, and he says, no, he doesn't have a drug problem. I do drugs if that's what you're asking. Absolutely. Yeah, I've done them more than most. But nowadays, it's not a problem. This is like pure awesome right here. The fact that he's so honest about this, like, I love this guy. Give him his own TV show.
I was telling Jen before we started recording that I had to Google whether or not Andy is real or an actor in this documentary because they do a mix of recreating scenes and circumstances. And so they use some actors in those. But the people who are giving the interviews, like Andy, are real. Andy is a real person.
Which I would pay to watch a reality show of Andy. It was pure comedy every time he was interviewed.
His comedic timing is impeccable, and he's not even trying. This is just him being him.
I like it. I like it. Rodney says he really likes Andy. And Andy has a great personality, but he wouldn't let Andy on any job sites because he would probably hurt himself or hurt someone else. So Andy basically became Rodney's go-do-it-all for him type of guy.
Yeah.
Andy cleaned Rodney's office. He washed his truck. Basically, Andy did the things that Rodney didn't want to do. Andy, meanwhile, says that Rodney is his homie. He's a cool-ass dude. I love it. Rodney and Andy would apparently talk about Julian's story from time to time and how the money would change their life. At this point, we are then introduced on the show to somebody named D, who's also called the Cuban. Now, Andy lives with the Cuban. And the Cuban, I think, has a little bit of a sketchy history. The Cuban says he's been in gangs, he's sold drugs, he's been in prison, he started selling some cocaine, and we meet this fella on the show, and he's interviewed in kind of what looks like a bar, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
And he has a hat on his head, like a ball cap on his head, and then he has this like mask on the lower part of his face that's like a skull. Mm-hmm. And the Cuban says that a week after meeting Rodney, he went to Rodney's office, and they started talking about the buried cocaine. And if it was brought to the United States, the Cuban could sell it because of his history with gangs and drugs and people.
Yeah. D also has a line in here. He says, drug dealing is about following the rules. Jen, I'm a rule follower.
You couldn't be a drug dealer, Tina.
I'm probably the best rule follower. Could I make a good drug dealer?
No. No. So with all of this, they're kind of talking about, hey, could we do this? That's a lot of money. Rodney says the biggest problem was, how are they going to get that cocaine to the United States? And the Cuban says on the show that Rodney is not from the streets. And if you watch this documentary, which I really think you should, The Legend of Cocaine Island, you too will agree that Rodney is not from the streets.
No.
At all.
No, Rodney's from his home.
Yes. Rodney, I think, is the furthest looking person from the streets
Rodney's from his recliner.
Yes, yes, where he's given these interviews
Yeah.
from. The Cuban says that Rodney didn't understand that bringing 32 keys of cocaine into the U.S. is very hard to do without some kind of organization behind you. Apparently, Rodney says in one of the interviews that the Cuban knew a guy. It's all about who you know. And he knew this guy named Carlos, who was Puerto Rican, and he was a smuggler and a drug kingpin who owned a private plane.
Rodney agrees to meet with Carlos because he says, what's it gonna hurt? Rodney, haven't you seen enough movies to know that drug smugglers are not people to be messing around with? Fact. I can't imagine you meet with a drug smuggler to casually pitch an idea.
No, I feel like there's got to be a little more to that.
Right. I imagine the way it goes is you politely ask for what you want from them. And they will either agree to do it for something around $1 million, or they'll tell you to go get out of their face and never come back. And then sometimes you live to tell the tale, and sometimes you don't.
See, Tina, this is why you couldn't be a drug dealer.
You're right.
Yeah.
Spot on.
So Rodney says he met with Carlos, and he reminded him of what a drug smuggler would look like. Alligator shoes, a crisp silk shirt, some gold jewelry. They show a clip of this guy or this actor portraying this drug smuggler on the show, and he's got his like lots of chest hair popping out of his silk shirt. He reminds me of Ricky Ricardo from I Love Lucy. I love it. I'm here for it.
Yes, and for those wondering, Carlos is played by an actor in this documentary. We don't actually get to meet Carlos.
We do not. So Rodney says Carlos was drinking super high-end tequila shots while Rodney was sipping on a margarita. I love it. Rodney says Carlos gave him a business card with the words Carlos Private Air written on it. And apparently Carlos owned a small plane and would bring back this merchandise for him. The merchandise being the cocaine.
And fun fact,
the frisky powder.
The business card that we see on the documentary, according to someone on Reddit, there's a phone number on that business card.
No, they didn't call it. And
for those wondering, it does not call Carlos. It doesn't go to Carlos Private Air. The person on Reddit, it is someone by the name of Jack who posted this 6 years ago, says, I was watching the show and was at the part where he meets the kingpin dude at the bar and he orders the bottle of tequila. He slips him a business card that says Carlos Private Air on it with a telephone number. I called the number from my cell phone.
Oh my gosh.
To see if it was going to connect to the real Carlos Air. And this is what I got. Hello, and thank you for calling the offices of Strategic Homeland Security for the United States of America. This is Agent So-and-so. How can I help direct you or your call?
I love it.
And he says no. He didn't want to hang up because he didn't want her to get mad and run a trace on his phone. So he just said, I'm sorry, ma'am. I called the wrong number. My apologies.
That reminds me of, remember that show? It was called The West Wing. Well, apparently on one of the episodes, they gave out a phone number, and it was a legit number for the White House. And people would be calling that number and actually getting through to somebody at the White House.
This just fascinates me about the way people's brains work, because I don't think I would have ever thought to call that number.
No.
But I love that someone did.
Well, I mean, it's like that song, that 8675309. Would you ever call that number?
No.
I wouldn't either. But I'm sure there's probably people who have.
I didn't even realize it was a phone number until decades later.
This is why I love you. All right, let's get back to it. So we talk about the plan. So this is slowly getting into motion. He's met with Carlos. They've got a way, if they find this cocaine, of getting it back to the United States using Carlos's private plane. So Rodney apparently flies down to locate the keys. And at this point, like, I'm down with the lingo.
Not the Florida keys.
Not the Florida keys, not the house keys. We're talking about those keys of cocaine. And Rodney's plan is, after finding it, Carlos would fly down, transfer it, and the fee would be 4 bricks of cocaine. I mean, realistically, if you have more than 30 bricks of cocaine, what's 4? I mean, that's nothing.
I don't know.
So the trip, Rodney says they flew out of Orlando, and by they, he means him and Andy, okay? So they leave their home, and they drive to Orlando, they board a plane, and they land in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And to get to the island of Culebra, they took a tiny little, like, puddle jumper, which on the show, they talk about it, and apparently it was a terrifying flight over to Culebra, and it was a super sketchy landing. And once they got there, they rented a Jeep, and they drove around the island. And the comedic relief of this show, Rodney says that they had an early dinner, and the show shows Rodney and Andy walking down the road being followed by a potbelly pig. Like, what the hell? Like, why is there a pig?
I love it. I love the way they shoot this documentary. It's so funny and random. It feels like we're actually on an adventure with them.
It does.
We're going treasure hunting.
Let's do it,
I
Sienna.
love it. Though it's not actually treasure they're looking for, it's drugs. And they show footage of Rodney and the guy who's playing Andy flying in at this point, it's someone playing Andy because it's a recreation.
Correct.
And flying in a tiny airplane to get to this island. And I just love it. I feel like we're going hunting.
Let's do it. Now, they run into a problem, okay? Andy apparently got super sick that night. Andy says he had food poisoning from the lobster he ate at dinner. Rodney says he knows Andy was on pain medication and it wasn't medicinal, we're here.
Oh boy.
Apparently, Rodney says Andy was addicted and was having withdrawals.
Andy says that the place they ate, they had to actually go and get the lobster for you from the water and then come back and cook it.
That
And
sounds pretty sweet.
I love that they cut to a guy in swim trunks jumping into the water while Andy is telling us this story. And I don't know what about it just made me laugh out loud. But it was so funny. Like, the guy makes a noise before he dives in the water. Like,
So funny. So Rodney, remember, Andy's sick, okay? He's at this hotel. Andy
he had
is
bad lobster, apparently.
lobster, opioids, who knows?
One of the two.
I mean, I feel like it's a toss-up. Rodney says during the day, he goes out and he scouts the area where Julian said the cocaine would be. Now, Julian had said it would be by his old trailer on the island. Now, there's a couple of problems here. Problem number 1 is the trailer was no longer there. Problem number 2, he says there's no Walmart in Culebra, so he didn't have anything to dig with. Like, no shovels. So what do? The next morning, they get up and they flew home.
What do you mean? Because you can't find Walmart. You go all this way to this tiny island to dig up a treasure, and you're gonna let the fact that there's no Walmart there stop you? You can't tell me there's not a shovel or some plastic shovel or some sort of toy or digging device that you can't get your hands on this island.
I mean, you can't just walk up to a random house and be like, hey, can I borrow a shovel? I think there's some cocaine over here.
Oh, no, you'd be like, sir, I need to borrow this shovel. Don't ask questions. No, sir, I will give you $50 if you let me borrow your shovel. If someone offered me $50 to borrow my shovel, heck yeah.
You're like,
I'm
no.
not asking any questions.
You're like, you can keep it.
You can keep the shovel. I don't want the evidence.
I love it. Oh, so they fly home. And they get home and they just cannot let this go. Like, you are faced with a couple $1 million worth of product here. So what are you gonna do? You think about it and you decide you're gonna try it again. I mean, why not? Rodney says at this point he met with Julian and confirmed the location, and on the screen they pop up like a Google Maps thing and X marks the spot. So let's do it again. Trip number 2. Andy and Rodney flew back to Culebra. And in the dead of the night, and the way I see this, it's hot, it's humid, it's Puerto Rico. I bet you there's mosquitoes because it's hot and it's humid. So in my mind, there's mosquitoes?
I have no clue.
Anyway, let's say, so there's sweat, right? And we're not just talking about little amounts of sweat. Like, it's hot, it's humid, there's lots of sweat. Sweat everywhere.
Ew.
And guess what? There's shovels. Thank goodness they brought shovels. And you have adrenaline that's pumping, right? Andy isn't vomiting anywhere. Like, this could be it. So they went back after the dark to the spot where Julian said this was X marks the spot. Mm-hmm. And Andy apparently was the digger. Now, if you see Rodney and Andy on the show, you would think, you definitely see Rodney and think he's the dreamer, right? Yeah. He's the planner. He's the construction company
He's the
owner.
brains.
He's the...
Okay. That's the wrong choice of words. He tries to be the brains.
Yes, he tries to be the brains. Like, you see Rodney and you don't think athlete.
Or brains.
You see dreams. Tina.
Yeah, dreams.
You see Andy and you could think, like, there's probably a little bit of sport mode there. And so Andy's the digger, Rodney's the supervisor. And Rodney's interviewed and he says Andy couldn't dig, right? It just wasn't happening. So he stepped in and he was digging with his bare hands, right? He was putting everything in there. Andy says he was standing there thinking to himself in his head, right? What the F are you doing right now, dude? You're in another country. You're out here digging up cocaine. What the F are you doing? He says, I was praying we did not find that coke. You might be wondering, did they find that coke?
Nope.
That booger sugar?
Nope.
That white fuzz?
Nope.
White fuzz.
Are you making up more terms? Isn't fuzz the police?
I don't know. But I feel like it's probably in that DEA.gov website. Anyway, why not? They didn't find anything because the soil was rock solid. And these are not athletic fellas here. So how do they lick their wounds and heal their egos? Andy said they found some skater-looking dude and bought some weed, and they got high. The problem with it, Andy says it was shitty weed, but it got him high anyway. Oh, well.
Oh, my gosh, the mess.
They go back to the United States. And at this point, we meet the actor again portraying Carlos. Now, remember, Carlos is that drug kingpin with the nice silk shirts and the chest hair.
I like how you keep bringing that up.
And apparently... Rodney called Carlos with a proposition, okay?
Wait, I thought Carlos called Rodney with a proposition.
That's right. Okay. Too many names.
At this point, I'm thinking, well, maybe I was wrong. Because remember earlier I said that, you don't bring ideas to drug dealers, like you just don't propose ideas.
They have the idea.
Yeah, like you just this is what I want, and they either give it to you or they don't.
True.
Right? Like they're not
not that I know.
I don't imagine they're gonna come running back to you. Hey, sir, I've got an idea. I don't see that happening. From a drug kingpin.
I just snorted.
Yeah. I just don't see that happening with a drug kingpin. I don't think they're going to come running after you.
Not one like this with the nice silk shirts either.
Pitch ideas. Okay.
To peach?
Pitch. Pitch ideas.
To pitch ideas. So Carlos apparently had a proposition. So he and Rodney met back up, Rodney says. And Rodney brought a map of the treasure location to the meetup with Carlos. All right. Rodney says that the plan was for Carlos to go to the island, take a work crew with him on a yacht, because, he's a drug kingpin, so obviously he's got a yacht.
And workers.
And he was going to dig the cocaine up himself. Not himself. I'm sure he was probably going to have one of his workers do it.
Yeah.
And because he would be doing the work, he wanted 8 keys of cocaine instead of the 4 originally offered in the deal. All right.
And see, again, I would be like, I think a real drug kingpin would be saying, there's 30 keys, I'm taking 25, and I'm going to leave you with 5 because I'm doing all the work.
Because I'm doing all the work. And Rodney didn't have anything to do basically in this deal except for accept the money. which sounded great to him. Andy says, we hear on the show, that the deal sounded too good to be true.
Even for us, Jen, and we're not like
drug people.
I
know. Here, and this is why Andy has the smarts. Andy said he knew that deal was not good. It was too good to be true. But Rodney, he says, was naive that day.
Just that one day.
Just that one day. Just that day. Then one evening, we hear on the show that Rodney gets an email from Carlos Private Air.
Which there's a Gmail on there, but I don't know if that actually goes to Carlos.
Probably goes to Homeland Security too. Which contains a picture of what looks like a black duffel bag with bricks of cocaine inside. And in the show, Rodney is jubilant. It's real for him. Like, the picture is the evidence. Well, he starts making plans for the money.
Again, red flag, Jen. What drug dealer is going to be emailing you evidence?
Right? Yeah, that's kind of, yeah. Well, Rodney says he would lay down at night in bed, right? And he would just picture big packages of cocaine. And on the screen at this point in time, we see fireworks exploding. And the imagery is awesome because they also show Rodney. The camera is above Rodney, right? And it's kind of like circling him. And we see Rodney with his arms stretched out, wearing his little Aloha shirt, just being sprinkled with this white powdery substance and money. And it just, in my mind, it's like that's what like an 80s strip club looks like. You know what I mean?
Sure. Rodney says he feels like a kid on Christmas Eve.
He's dancing in those dollar bills and that white powder being dumped from the heavens above. So we have the meat now. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, Rodney wants to get paid too. Carlos calls him and tells Rodney to meet him somewhere, right? And then he calls him back and says, no, meet me here instead. And Rodney says that Carlos told him to meet him at a spot that's more than an hour away in less than 30 minutes. So Rodney books it, right, to this location. And does he make it? Sure does. He's determined.
They show footage of Rodney driving like a road raging maniac. He's giving the finger to people honking at him on the road.
Yep.
It was so funny.
It was awesome. And Rodney says Carlos, they meet up, right, at a store. And Rodney says Carlos gave him his key, his car key, and pointed to his car in the parking lot and told him to go open up the trunk. So Rodney goes out to his pickup truck in the show, and he kind of looks around. Everything's cool, you know, and Carlos is apparently parked at the far end of the parking lot. Rodney parked his pickup truck kind of behind Carlos's car and didn't see anybody. He says at this point he's a little paranoid, and rightfully so.
Yes.
Like, you're about to pick up a lot of cocaine.
Yep.
And he walks up to the trunk and sees a black duffel bag in the trunk with cocaine keys inside of it. And he starts loading it up in his pickup truck.
At this point, he says now it's like Christmas morning, and he's got the biggest present under that tree.
Mm-hmm. Well, he loads it into the bed of his pickup truck, and as he closes up his pickup truck, we see him on the show. He kind of like turns and looks away. And
American flag in the background.
American flag in the background. He looks so like happy.
Proud of himself.
Yeah. And that's when there's dozens of red little laser dots pointed at his chest, and he sees federal agents with guns pointed at him. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
It's a bad day to be Rodney.
Yep.
And turns out there was a rat. Like
Who
my
would have
mafia
known?
lingo right
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mafia lingo. So I think the person that surprised me the most, guess who the rat was? D, the Cuban.
I was shocked.
Right? Apparently, we learned on the show that 6 months earlier, the Cuban was pulled over during a traffic stop. The Cuban says that the officer grabbed his
crotch area.
They used a term of like what a cashew or an almond or, you know, that kind of thing is. What, you know what those are referred to?
Nuts.
Yes, Tina, nuts. And so the Cuban says, I'm going to say it here, Tina, I'm going to say it. The Cuban says that the officer grabbed his nutsack area.
That's a quote.
And in my opinion, this is in my mind where I hear the whoop, whoop, it's the police. The Cuban, apparently, what was in that in that area. What was in that area down there? 130 Oxycontin pills. Uh-oh. I mean, could you imagine the poor people buying those pills? Ew.
No! Oh no!
Nasty. I just went there. So the Cuban says he had been in prison 3 times already. And he was now facing life in prison. And in my mind, here I hear the 3 strikes you're out at the old ball game song.
Yep.
So what does he do? What else do you do in this situation? You cut a deal. And the Cuban, we learn on the show, rolled over on Rodney and Andy. The Cuban says he asked police, how does $2 million worth of cocaine coming into this country, would that be enough to get him off the hook? And he says, y'all ready to go on a treasure hunt for 32 keys of effing cocaine coming into this country? Let's go. Turns out the drug kingpin, also known as Carlos, the one with the silky shirts and all that, was actually an undercover Homeland Security agent.
Well, who would have thunk it?
Right?
Drug kingpins, apparently we were right. They don't come crawling over to you with deals.
Nope. Nope. And Rodney that night made the evening news. And it was a crazy story. You can watch the clip from the news show on this Netflix comedic documentary?
Yeah, it was so fun to watch. They showed the whole package that made the news, and it's fun because they recap the entire story in about 2 minutes.
Yep, it's great. So Rodney says the thing that bothered him about all this is what his family was going to do now that he's going to be going to prison.
Right, because Rodney had told his wife that he was going on a fishing trip when he made these trips to Cooley.
So we hear again from Rodney's wife, who Tina talked about earlier, Jamie. I am a little more sympathetic than Tina, I think.
I want you to go back and watch this again, and I just want you to, I cannot believe this doesn't raise a red flag for you.
Yeah. Well, she says that she got a phone call, right, on her cell phone. She picked it up and was told her husband had been arrested by Homeland Security. She says, what do you mean? Jacksonville? Homeland Security? Cocaine? So the agents, right, that were part of all this, we meet them. One is a sheriff's officer named Joe Raleigh, and he says in drug busts, you go after the smaller fish and hope that the small fish ends up giving you a bigger fish, which I think totally makes sense.
Right.
We hear from a Homeland Security agent named Ryan McInerney, who says Rodney wasn't really a fish. He was more like a unicorn.
So accurate.
Yes. And then we also hear from Mark Rosenblum, who's Rodney's attorney. And he says that Rodney is naive. He's a dreamer. He says Rodney didn't even know how much a kilo of cocaine sold for.
Samesies.
And Mark Rosenblum says Rodney also didn't know anyone he could sell the cocaine to.
Samesies.
And everyone besides the police apparently thought that this was entrapment. And I'm looking at Tina right now and she's giving me this like, what is entrapment look? And entrapment is basically like you're going to go do something because you're being convinced by like a government agency or someone cooperating with the police to do something criminal.
That's why you don't pick up the bag, Jen.
You go way back to that. And Andy says, at this point, how is this not entrapment? Anybody. And he kind of like looks around the tattoo shop. It's every sense of the word, entrapment. We will get the ship for you and give us some, and we go about our business. Andy says, I didn't even commit a crime, dude.
Well, you did put cocaine in your truck, and that's certainly not a good look.
So we hear from a sheriff's department official named Lieutenant Whitney Burnett, who basically states that Rodney wanted a pilot. He wanted somebody to distribute it out on the street for him. It's not the sheriff's department's fault that he couldn't find the drugs. And the drugs were there because the sheriff's department, Homeland Security, all these agents dug those up. And so there was like an intent there. And we hear from Jamie, Rodney's wife, who says it's all bullshit. Their plan was real human lives, and they need to put the real drug addict in jail and don't let them, meaning the police, set people up.
Jamie, I know you're upset. But maybe if you weren't so dang adamant about wanting to be back in your McMansion, maybe Rodney wouldn't have felt the need to try something so desperate.
Agreed.
I'm just saying.
Agreed.
Also, what do you expect when your husband is working with people who break the law? Eventually, you're gonna probably get tangled up in some sort of messiness, messy crimes.
Agreed. And apparently, I didn't know this, if the amount of cocaine is 5 kilograms or more, there's a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years in prison. Okay? Mm-hmm. Anything above 5 kilograms of cocaine. And at this point, Rodney ended up going to trial and was found guilty. And we hear from the judge who presided over Rodney's case. His name is Judge Tim Corrigan. I really liked him on the show. He seems like a no-nonsense guy, but I also feel like he seems like he has a really good heart. Mm-hmm. And he said on the show when he was interviewed, if the government had not gone to the island to dig it up and brought it back to the United States, it is very unlikely that Rodney would have been able to pull this off.
Smart man.
He says normally it would have been 120-month minimum mandatory, which is that 10 years. But he says there's something called the safety valve. And a safety valve is if you're a first-time offender and have no previous criminal history, which Rodney didn't have, and you meet some other sentencing factors, the minimum mandatory is thrown out. And at this point, we hear from Andy, and he says, thank God for that judge, because he saw it for what it was, bullshit. And so the judge turned around and used the safety valve and sentenced Rodney to 60 days in jail, which I think is fair, and 5 years of probation and community service. And so as part of that community service, 20 hours a week, Rodney has to work for Habitat for Humanity and has been doing that now for 5 years.
Great call, Judge Corrigan. Absolutely fair.
And it's, I think, really great, too, to put his skill sets as a builder, a construction guy, to use in Habitat for Humanity.
I hadn't thought of that, but brilliant. Yeah.
And Rodney is interviewed and says that this is by far the stupidest thing that he's ever done in life. But it hadn't been all for the bad. Like, some good came out of it. He says he's helped build people houses, and he's helped out his community. And he says through all of this, he's become a better person. The Cuban, we hear from him after this on the show again. He says that everyone was hit by the recession hard, but Rodney tried to take the easy way out by going to get 32 keys of cocaine. He says you've got to have some ethical code about yourself, which I found absolutely hilarious coming from this guy.
Right. This is the same guy that says one of the main things you have to do as a drug dealer is to follow the rules, which is totally hypocritical since you're breaking the rules by dealing drugs. He is no philosopher, that's for sure.
That's for sure. So we have a little bit of conspiracy in the show, which I love a good conspiracy theory.
Me too.
Rodney says he wonders if these agents ever, in fact, dug up the cocaine. He says they never presented any evidence of the dig site. And we hear Rodney says, when you take the picture that was in the evidence file and compare it to the actual evidence in court, they don't match. There's a Homeland Security agent who says the cocaine was dug up in the middle of the night, so there weren't any photos taken at the scene. All they had is the picture of the cocaine while it was in the ground after being dug up from a phone. They don't have professional photographers. They don't have any of that kind of thing. And Andy at this point says, you saw what you think was it, right? In the picture, you were only able to see about 7-8 bundles of cocaine. I kind of tried to pause it a couple of times, and Andy's right. You see about 7. And when there should have been 32 keys of cocaine. And what happened to the other ones? Like, what happened to the rest? Did they just disappear? And that's when that Homeland Security agent, Ryan McEnany, says he would not advise anyone to go down to Culebra to check if it's still there. Suspicious.
Definitely.
Andy, meanwhile, Andy has a theory. I love these theories from Andy. Okay, so Andy has 3 theories, right? The first one, Julian. Remember the guy who found it originally and told everybody the story about it? Remember Julian?
Yep.
All right, he says that Julian was lying about the whole thing.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Then we have theory number 2. The cops stole the cocaine.
I wouldn't say stole it. Maybe got rid of it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, did they actually make an effort to go out there, or did they just take 7 from their evidence bundle that they have and
Put it in
take
a black
picture?
bag.
Yeah.
Yep. Or theory number 3, the cocaine is still in the ground.
Ooh.
Andy says, if you knew there were $2 million buried in the ground, straight up, would you go get it? Who wouldn't? It's the American dream, bro. And I said, damn right, Andy. Tina, hold my shovel. Like, let's go. And the show ends on this like skull and crossbones with coordinates. And truthfully, if you want to know the coordinates yourself, go watch The Legend of Cocaine Island on Netflix. It's good.
If you find it, don't email us. I don't want anything to do with it.
No Homeland Security contacting us?
No. I also want to say that I really appreciated that Rodney was playing himself. I mean, this was definitely a documentary, but they did some recreations with actors, but Rodney played himself in the whole thing.
He did.
And I think he was a really good sport.
I agree.
You know, I mean, this thing happened to him. It can be very traumatic. I think it could be pretty traumatic for someone, but to be a good sport about it and make this comedy kind of making fun of yourself about this thing that happened to you, this really big thing that happened to you, I think that was a good thing for him to do. It was fun to watch.
It was fun to watch, definitely.
I don't know if you realize this, Jen, but we have a 5-star Apple review rating.
Really?
Yes.
I haven't checked it in a while.
We have a review from someone named Irina who called our podcast a total gem.
A total gem?
Do you know what a gem is, Jen?
Me.
Well, you are a gem. But that means it's a treasure, which means we are a treasure.
We're not cocaine, though.
No, thank goodness. So if you agree that we are a treasure, if you love this show, if we made your day, if we made you smile or laugh, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review.
And if you're not on Apple Podcasts, you can do it on any other platform, too.
Any other platform. It makes our day to read them. It's like Rodney describes the feeling of seeing a trunk full of cocaine. It feels like Christmas morning when we get a new 5-star review from a listener.
I love it.
So thank you so much for taking the time to do that.
And if you want to contact us any other way, or you want to contact us for any other reason, you can send us an email to crimenewsies@gmail.com, like us on Instagram, Facebook, to Crime Newsies. Yeah, rate us anywhere you're listening to us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can honestly say, I look forward to every week when we record, and every Sunday night when I release the episodes. I love it.
It's so much fun. We're having a blast. Thank you for listening to us.
Definitely. All right. Well, we will be back next week. I was about to say same time, but you can listen to us anytime.
That's the beauty of it.
Right? All right. We will talk to you guys later.